have to say, I'm looking at this crowd. I do not see many people of color. Has anybody else besides me observed that? I'm fascinated by why that is.
What an odd way to look at the world. Joining me now, the wonderful Megyn Kelly of the obvious Megyn Kelly Show. Go sign up for her YouTube. You catch her on Sirius every single day at noon. Okay, Megyn, we'll get to the media and not being able to change their tune in a moment, but what kind of sickness do you have to have? I see these people do this all the time, to look at a picture or look at a video and start counting. Are there enough black people? How many women are there? Did you see enough? Bob, I don't see enough Asians. What an odd way. I don't think I've ever looked at a picture like that in my life.
Never. It's so sick. And somebody online was saying, in response to a tweet I sent out about this, she's probably disappointed because she was ready to find them in the crowd and call them all Uncle Toms, because that's what the left does. If you're like a Clarence Thomas and happen to be black but are conservative. What a joke. I don't understand it. And by the way, if you look at, and I was there, the Capital One Center, filled with 20,000 of Trump's most ardent fans, you would see people from all walks of life, all colors, all creeds, male, female, you name it. This is just not how, it's like you took one room that happened to have his closest family members and closest advisors and decided to try to pick how many were people of color. I mean, did we count, by the way, Usha Vance in there? Because the second lady and the children of the vice president are all brown, but I guess that doesn't count for Gayle King. It's just absurd. I don't get it, other than they see everything through a racial lens and everybody as oppressor or oppressed. And that's why they will continue with their TDS for the next 4 years and undermine their own credibility and shed more audience.
Megyn, I'm glad you brought up they'll continue with it, because I was thinking to myself, I was thinking about the election, and I saw a poll, Democrat approval is now at 33% nationally. That's the lowest in the history of that kind of polling. So they are very much on the outs. And I was thinking last night, surely they're going to make some changes, right? I mean, surely they're going to polish up this and tighten up that and maybe tell these crazies to stop. But Megyn, I'm not sure they can. I don't know that these people know any other way. I don't know that they can change. Can they change?
No, they cannot. They will not. I mean, even in the last election, you saw there was a Democrat survey of some 2,000 or 3,000 Democrats post Kamala Harris's loss. And the question was, what was the issue that was most important to swing state voters, right? Because as much as we'd like to think we matter in non-swing states, what it comes down to is those 7 swing states. And those Democrat voters said the number one issue they were voting on, and when they voted for Donald Trump, was the trans issue. So the Democrat base is telling its elected elites, not to mention the media, that they're with the Republican Party on that issue, to the point where they would reelect Donald Trump and put him in office over a woke black female Democrat, right? Which is supposed to be the god in the Democratic Party. And still they do not listen. Still they double down on all of this nonsense like they represent the people. So I think there's a divide between this progressive caucus within the Democrat Party and the elite media who represent them and are totally in line with them, and much of the base of the Democratic Party, which still has more of a classical liberal bent running through it, especially on certain social issues. They're not as woke as that former faction is. And so for me, I think it's great, because they're either going to bend the media and the progressives to their will, which is close enough to our will to make us happy, or they're just going to keep losing. So we'll have our will enacted. That's the road we're on. The elite media won't see it. They're blinded to it. They're drunk on their own wine. They think they're all powerful and that their voices really matter and will change things no matter how often the voters and the viewers tell them they're wrong. So I think you and I and our audiences are on a nice road, and I think I'll enjoy watching them destroy themselves.
How much of it do you think is geographical? I mean, it's human nature. When you're around certain people, you will understand them better. You can't understand people watching them on the television or studying them on social media. When you live, work, and worship around people, you understand them better. And they have so isolated themselves to bubbles like Southern California, New York City, which you're well familiar with. How much of it do you think is just simply geographical, that even if they wanted to understand the Rust Belt Democrat in Pennsylvania, they can't because they've never met him?
A huge issue, absolutely huge, because it's sort of the same thing that can happen to our Supreme Court justices who go down to Washington and go to the right Georgetown cocktail parties. And before you know it, Chief Justice John Roberts, who never showed a hint of being anything other than a dyed-in-the-red wool conservative, winds up giving us Obamacare, among other decisions. So, like, I'm convinced the more you surround yourself with these elite so-called leftists, the more they start to rub off on you. So I think it's a combination. Like, if you really wanted to revamp media, and obviously we're doing that in the digital lane, but I think if you want to start from scratch, you would definitely try to have journalists who live in flyover country, who understand what it's like to live on a ranch, who know what it's like to work with your hands and get your nails dirty when you go to work all day. And I know this is weird, but I think they need to make less money. Like, let's say you're going to insist on staying in Georgetown or Manhattan or Los Angeles or San Francisco, Silicon Valley, I think you should definitely be subject to salary caps so that you're poor like journalists were meant to be. And that might at least give you a shot of still relating to the everyman instead of seeing yourself as high and mighty.
Yeah, it's tough to speak truth to power when you are the power. I guess that's pretty astute. Okay, Megyn, Tom Homan has already announced that the mass deportations have begun. It was no secret. ICE was getting ready to descend on Chicago, New York, and other places where these gang members and savages are terrorizing American citizens. And you're seeing the media already try the propaganda campaign. Oh, look at her. She's crying with the poor Lupe. They're already doing that thing, but it doesn't appear to be landing. Has the media lost so much credibility they can't create scandal now out of thin air like they used to be able to?
That is a very good question. And I guess that my honest answer is we'll see. Because yes, I've seen this video too. And the sympathies of the CNN anchors, certainly the MSNBC anchors, and CBS, ABC, and NBC are all with the illegals, 100%. Maybe not these illegals because they're from Cuba and they tend to vote Republican. If they get here, they're not allowed to vote, but I'm just saying they tend to be more conservative. But in general, their sympathies are with the illegals, and they love to say that Trump is a racist, and that's the reason he's doing all of this. But that poll that came out earlier this week was at New York Times that showed overwhelmingly the American public and overwhelmingly the Democrats in this country favor deporting all illegals. It's 55% of Democrats favor deporting every single illegal in this country. And then it goes up even higher when you say, well, what about just the illegals who got here over the past 4 years? And it goes up into the 90s when you say, how about the illegals who have committed crimes? So the public, again, is with Trump on this. And I don't know, because I don't think CNN is ever going to admit that. I don't think MSNBC, I don't think ABC and CBS and NBC, the people who run those organizations come up with the editorial. And the people who are in the anchor chairs don't feel the same. They are not in that 55% of Democrats or whatever. They're in the minority. They think they know better. And those are the ones who decide the programming decisions. So it would take a lot of ratings beatings, for them to see directly that their coverage is shoving their numbers down and their salaries down for them to change. And I don't think that's going to happen because they're going to be talking about Trump, and any talking about Trump rates. So I think they're not going to change.
Megyn, I can't possibly let you go without asking about this clip.
It's fine. It was a freezing cold room. It doesn't really make you want to run out and run for Senate. I'll say that. So Chris Murphy of Connecticut, you should be feeling good because I'm less inclined to take your job now. But when I decide to take it, it will be mine because you're a disaster.
Megyn, do you have something you'd like to announce here on I'm Right? I think everybody would like to see Senator Megyn Kelly carving people up on the Senate floor.
I really should have done that in my drunk Kamala Harris imitation because that was a crazy talk. You don't actually want to fulfill people's ambitions, hopes, and dreams as a senator. I think I'm actually better in the role that I'm in. And the point I was making was it actually seemed very, very boring. And, when I meet the U.S. senators, and I know a lot of them, and I met even more when I was at the Hegseth hearing, I'm never like, gee, that's something I aspire to. I'm kind of like, I think my job might be actually more important than yours. I think I have a bigger capacity to reach people than you do. But I do acknowledge that they can change laws and that changes lives. So I think about it every once in a while because I can't stand my Connecticut senators or my Connecticut governor. Can't stand them. And Chris Murphy is the worst because he's radical on the trans issue, including the kid issue. But no, I have zero plans to run for office, and I don't want to run for office. I just want to remind him I'm here and I can hurt him.